Frankly, it's time for a new generation of leaders. Whole binders full of women.
Former presidential candidate and current Republican Senator of Utah, Mitt Romney, has announced that he will be retiring at the end of his term. So I'm going to play for you his announcement, and then I have a new Romney story that hit the same day that I will touch on here, as well as I will talk about the one thing that I will always remember Mitt Romney for. But first, here is his announcement.
I've spent my last 25 years in public service of one kind or another. At the end of another term, I'd be in my mid-80s. Frankly, it's time for a new generation of leaders. They're the ones that need to make the decisions that will shape the world they will be living in. Now, we face critical challenges: mounting national debt, climate change, and the ambitious authoritarians of Russia and China. Neither President Biden nor former President Trump are leading their party to confront those issues. On deficits and debt, both men refuse to address entitlements, even though they know that this represents 2/3 of federal spending. Donald Trump calls global warming a hoax, and President Biden offers feel-good solutions that make no difference to the global climate. On China, President Biden underinvests in the military, and President Trump underinvests in our alliances. Political motivations too often impede the solutions that these challenges demand. The next generation of leaders must take America to the next stage of global leadership. While I'm not running for re-election, I'm not retiring from the fight. I'll be your United States Senator until January of 2025.
This announcement showcases why it is ridiculous for anyone to consider Mitt Romney to be a common sense Republican. The message here is completely nuts. So before I get into this couple of other stories I want to touch on with Mitt Romney, he mentions here how neither party leader, Trump or Biden, want to touch the deficit or the debt, which is just saying that he wants to cut the most popular programs in America, Social Security and Medicare. And of course, he's worth $300 million, the fourth richest man in Congress. So these things don't impact him at all. Which also, by the way, Trump doesn't care about Social Security or Medicare. He knows rhetoric. He understands what's popular. That's what he speaks to. But in terms of what he actually does, the party controls all that. He doesn't care. But Mitt Romney also says here that this one, out of all of them, may be the most ridiculous. He claims that Joe Biden is only offering feel-good solutions that make no difference to the climate. Is Mitt Romney claiming that he is further to the left than Joe Biden is on climate? He wants to see more action? When did this happen? What? Like, you can't play all sides here. The idea that, look, if you want to criticize Biden for not doing enough, absolutely. If you want to be Mitt Romney of the Republican Party and claim that, who are you? This whole message is so muddled. And then the commentary about China, how Biden underinvests in the military, which is absurd. They just increase military spending to a record amount. And then but Trump doesn't invest enough in alliances. So Mitt Romney both wants more investment into the military in relation to China, but also wants more of an investment into an alliance. Like, so you somehow want both, but one eliminates the other. Like, you can't have both. You can't both rise temperatures with China or other countries while also increasing your alliances with them. Mitt Romney is really trying to play all sides here in this. I don't even know why he had to insert any politics at all. He's announcing he's leaving after the end of his term. This is his retirement video, but he's trying to be, he's the common sense guy. Everyone else is wrong but me. Yeah, what you're saying makes absolutely no sense. All right. Look, I appreciate that he's anti-Trump. Good for you. But so is his state. So he's just doing what he needed to do to continue his popularity in his state. I feel like if he was in a different state, his message may be a little different. But he's He's getting out while he can. And look, I was caught off guard by this announcement because he's 76. 76 is kind of young for a senator. I mean, the average age I believe is 64 for a senator, but we're seeing people like, Mitch McConnell just have these 30-second brain freezes. Dianne Feinstein being wheeled around, not present for any votes. Like, getting out in your 70s, good for you. Good. I mean, again, he doesn't need this job. He did need this job to begin with. But it's good to see him, step aside here and, I don't know, enjoy your wealth. If you're going to be that wealthy, I guess you might as well enjoy a bit of it while you're still around. Now, the couple of stories here that I want to touch on with Mitt Romney. This one came out today because there's a book coming out apparently about Mitt Romney. Maybe this is why he's also timing his announcement with this. But this is interesting. The context of it is interesting. So, Mediaite headline here: Romney says GOP senators literally laughed out loud at Trump behind his back. Caucus burst into laughter. So this isn't new. I mean, we're all very familiar how spineless these Republican senators are. They will never go against Trump publicly, but behind his back they will, because they are so afraid of losing their seats. So that, by the way, is the way you should be taking these sorts of stories. Don't take it as, oh, these Republicans are good people for hating Trump. No, they are spineless for being unwilling with their power, with their platform, to speak against him publicly. But what I find really interesting about this is why they burst into laughter. So this is from a new book, again, that is coming out about Mitt Romney. He declared, referring to Trump, and this is about a discussion behind closed doors with other Republican senators, Trump somewhat implausibly, that the GOP would soon become, quote, the party of healthcare. The senators were respectful and attentive. As soon as Trump left, Romney recalled, the Republican caucus burst into laughter. They burst into laughter because Trump declared that the GOP is now the party of healthcare. And they knew that wasn't true. And by the way, I'm sure Trump also knew that wasn't true. Maybe rhetorically, because he understands the popularity of something like Medicare, of speaking to the issue of healthcare, that he thinks the party should have gone that way. But this exposes the entire party. And here, Romney thinks, oh, this is a funny story about how we all hate Trump privately. But really, it's a story showcasing how this entire idea that you fight for anybody of the working class is completely absurd. Now, last thing. This is what I will always remember Mitt Romney for. Binders full of women. So if you're around in 2012, during the presidential race between Romney and Barack Obama, this was the highlight of one of the debates. And now, in hindsight, seems so unimportant and just kind of ridiculous to even maybe get angry about, as I'll get to the context here. But this was a huge deal at the time, that Mitt Romney said binders full of women during a debate. So there's a whole breakdown here about how this is, really screwing Mitt Romney with women voters. But let's watch the video. So this is, it's important to get some new eyes on this, because I'm curious how this plays now.
Because I had the chance to pull together a cabinet, and all the applicants seem to be men. And I went to my staff and I said, how come all the people for these jobs are all men? They said, well, these are the people that have the qualifications. And I said, well, gosh, can't we find some women that are also qualified? And so we took a concerted effort to go out and find women who had backgrounds that could be qualified to become members of our cabinet. I went to a number of women's groups and said, can you help us find folks? And they brought us whole binders full of women.
That's the quote. He was discussing how they were active in trying to diversify the workplace. It's wild how things have changed. How this, I don't think, if any Republican said this today, it would not make news. It absolutely would not make news. In fact, it may make news in the sense that, hey, look, there's a Republican that actually wants to diversify the workplace. But it would not make news in the sense that it wouldn't hurt a Republican. But this was a massive deal back then. And to give more context here, the reality is it wasn't even true. He made it up. So it was actually irrelevant to the question he was asked. That's actually maybe the worst part about his answer there, because it was about pay inequality. But according to several fact checkers, it was also untrue. He didn't ask for binders full of women. The list was compiled before he even took office. So it wasn't just a gaffe, as they write. It was a Freudian slip, a filibuster, and a falsehood. Which, I mean, is just, all of this is normal now. But back then, big deal. But it's because of the reaction at that time, because of how it helped to sink Romney's campaign, I will never forget binders full of women.